morning, everyone. It is 8 o'clock in the morning in New York City, 7 a.m. in Kingston, Jamaica, where a Category 5 hurricane appears to be heading for the island. We are keeping the people of Jamaica and the Caribbean in our thoughts and hope that they stay safe during this very difficult time. Otherwise, good morning. I'm Michelle Kitty. I'm here with Julie Roginsky, and welcome to the May Day Morning Show. In a series of interviews with conservative podcasters over the last week, conservative attorney Mike Davis, who is a close advisor to Pam Bondi and other Trump administration officials, claimed that a South Florida grand jury will consider whether to bring criminal charges against top Democrats who he says colluded against Donald Trump since he came down that golden escalator in June of 2015, starting with what he claims is the Russia hoax and continuing on the classified documents case and the January 6th investigation. I'm going to make damn sure that these lawfare Democrats go to prison during the 4 years of President Trump's second term, is what he said to the MAGA stalwart Benny Johnson, their buds, on Friday. He mentions people like former Attorney General Merrick Garland, Deputy AG Lisa Monaco, former FBI Director Christopher Wray, Special Counsel Jack Smith. And the court documents confirm that a federal judge last month reported a grand jury to be impaneled in Fort Pierce, Florida, beginning in January at the request of the Trump administration. Julie, now we can talk a little bit more about Mike Davis here in a second, because I always have things to say about that guy. But are we entering the show trial era of this regime? I think.
Yeah. I mean, I want people to take this seriously, because this is not a joke by these guys. It's not just a bunch of random podcasters going off,
Right.
with crazy theories. Mike Davis is, as you said, very close to Pam Bondi. He's also very close to the U.S. attorney who has convened this grand jury. We know it is easy to indict somebody. There's that great phrase that you can indict a ham sandwich. But understand what they're trying to do. They're trying to create the reality, which does not exist, that Russia did not interfere in the 2016 election. I mean, I literally have in 25 minutes about a 3,500 word chapter in chapter 15, I might add, in a series on Substack, talking specifically about how Russia interfered in the 2016 election. This one is on Paul Manafort, who legitimately was passing along information from the Trump campaign to a Kremlin intelligence agent, who then passed it on to the people who decided that they were going to interfere in places like Wisconsin and Pennsylvania and other places. So to say that this was a hoax is a joke. They're going to continue saying that the 2020 election was stolen.
Yeah.
We could all write a separate 1,000-word column every single day about why that's false. And then they're going to continue on to talking about how Trump didn't really take any classified documents and put them in the bathroom in Mar-a-Lago, that he was fully entitled to do that. He was not. He was a private citizen at the time. He was not allowed to have that. And how he didn't incite people to violence on January 6th, which they're going to call 11. We all saw what happened with our own eyes.
Yep.
So I just want to be very clear as to what's happening here. This is the last stages of authoritarianism and the last stages of Trump legitimately grooming the American people to believe that the only real source of information that they can have is from him and not from even what they see with their own eyes, like we saw on January 6th. So, we are no longer living in a democracy. And I think it's time that people understand that. And I think it's time that people appreciate the horror of what is coming. And I know this is a very sad and scary way to start our week, but I also feel like if you turn on CNN right now or MSNBC, they'll be talking about who's up, who's down in Washington. They'll be talking about silly stuff that's not relevant. This is relevant, you guys. This is so important that I just want everybody who's watching this at least to be prepared.
Yeah.
Because it's coming.
And Mike Davis, just so people know who he is, this guy, when they announced that Matt Gaetz was going to be Attorney General and then Pam Bondi, I was actually shocked that it wasn't him. And I just want to play this clip really quick. This was on The Circus with Tim Miller, John Howman, and Steve Bannon in, I believe, November of 2023.
You have a MAGA lawyer likes to come on your podcast, Mike Davis. Here's what he suggested were the top priorities for Trump's attorney general. 1, fire the deep state executive branch. 2, indict the whole Biden family. 3, deport 10 million people, kids in cages. It will be glorious. 4, detain people at Gitmo. 5, pardon every January 6th defendant. What do you think about that 5-step
I think
plan?
it's fantastic. We should
All
do
5?
All 5. We're going to start the largest deportation program in history. All 10 million must leave.
You're saying that it's about people's gut feelings, it's about people's lived experiences. You think somebody that's struggling, right now in the economy cares about firing random deep state people, indicting Joe Biden's
there's many things
brother,
Tim,
deporting
did
people?
I say that's all they're going to do? That's Mike Davis, who'll probably be the attorney general.
Yeah. So this guy, I just want to give some background to, he seems like a clown. He's not a clown. Well, I mean, he is a clown, but he's someone that people should take very seriously. This is something he just tweeted the other day about the SNAP benefits that people are losing. He says, we should only help people who can't help themselves. It's outrageous. 40 million people get food stamps. Get off your fat ghetto asses. Get a job.
That's not code for anything.
Get a job. Stop reproducing. Change your shitty culture. Stop giving food stamps to immigrants. We don't want you here if you won't work. This is an article from November 7th of 2024 in the Daily Beast. The headline says, Trump AG hopeful threatens to jail Letitia James in profane rant. This is again mentions Benny Johnson. This is Trump-aligned lawyer and former Senate aide Mike Davis, who's reportedly on the short list for Attorney General in Donald Trump's new administration, continued his crass insult tour of Democratic enemies Thursday, this time targeting Tish James, who is on the list that we, Julie and I just talked about in Florida. Let's see. A day after expressing a desire to, quote, drag their dead political bodies through the streets, burn them, and throw them off the wall, legally, politically, and financially, of course, wink, wink, Davis appeared on right-wing serial plagiarist Benny Johnson's online show, just like he did this week, to lash out at Letitia James, whose office has successfully litigated a case against Trump and his namesake organization for fraud. Now, there's more that I'll show here in a minute, but this is not new. This is not the first time he's done this. This is not like that. None of this is surprising to me. In fact, I've been expecting it, as I know you have too.
Well, I want to talk about a few things because everything that he promised to do has, in fact, been put in motion.
Yep.
In a week, less than a week, at the beginning of November, SNAP benefits will run out for millions. I think it's about 40 million people. And I just want to be clear as to who these people are. Okay. 70% of them work. Okay. So it's 21 million, not 40. I'm sorry. 21 million federal aid beneficiaries work full time, 70% of them. Okay. And where they're working is places like Walmart. And where they're working is places like McDonald's and Amazon and Kroger and Dollar General. And the reason they're in SNAP benefits is because of those corporations.
Yep.
Whose owners have billions of dollars are not paying them the benefits that they need and enough wages so that even though they work full time, 70% of them still need help.
Yes.
Let me also add this about the immigrants that he's talking about. I was one of them. So I came here in 1980. We had $90 in our pocket between the three of us. We were refugees. And for a very brief period, we were on food stamps. I cannot tell you the humiliation that my very proud parents felt. We had to take food stamps, but the difference was that if we didn't, we would starve.
Yeah.
There just wasn't any money to eat until my parents got on their feet in a month or two and were able to get jobs. That was then when you actually had jobs that paid a living wage. Now we have people who are working at places like Walmart, at places like McDonald's, where it's not enough.
Right.
And the very fact that we are forcing people to go to food banks, which are also running out of food, and to rely on the kindness of strangers to feed themselves and their children is so appalling to me that we are on the cusp, but this is not me saying this, we have seen this, studies have shown this, we are on the cusp of having hunger that is similar to the Great Depression. Remember all those black and white pictures we'd see of people lining up? We are on the cusp of starvation in the most wealthy country that the world has ever seen. That's one. Two, when it comes to Letitia James's threats to arrest and indict Letitia James, it's happened. They have indicted Letitia James. So again, for anybody who thinks that these people aren't serious, who think that they're just mouthing off, who think everything is a hoax. By the way, Benny Johnson, ironically enough, speaking of Russia hoax, Benny Johnson was one of the people who received money from Russia to pump out Russian propaganda. He claims he didn't know the source of the money. He was paid about $100,000, I believe, a week,
a month. I know that Tim Pool was getting $400,000 a month.
So believe me, none of this is a hoax. What is very serious and is also not a hoax is that everything that these people say they're going to do, they're going to do it. We talked about this last week. Steve Bannon said Donald Trump is running for a third term. He is running for a third term, friends.
Oh yeah. That's like not
everything that they say is happening. They're not kidding. And they're in power and they're in his ear.
Yes, they're in his ear constantly. And also, as an aside, Benny Johnson, just so people know, podcaster Benny Johnson, he's got some demons that he needs to deal with. But also, he was fired from BuzzFeed back in the day for plagiarism. Like, Benny Johnson's an unserious person who I think touted himself as a journalist, messed up. He's not very good at it. And so what happens is he starts a right-wing podcast and of course takes off because, you know, in right-wing podcast world, they don't really like facts. They just like outrage. And
well, that's the scary thing, Michelle, is they make up their own and then they put it into the ear of the president of the United States, who doesn't have a thought in his head that somebody doesn't want there. And then they make their own reality. I mean, if you remember in the very, very, very beginning of the first Trump administration, like day 2, there comes somebody who's staying with me, and he's hello. That's my little cousin from France.
Hello.
Anyway, everybody meet Jonathan. Anyway, so
that was funny.
Anyway, yes. I lost my train of thought.
No, I know. I'm waiting for the comments to come in on the chat.
Yeah, exactly.
Anyways, keep going.
Just in case anybody's wondering, no, I'm not stepping out on my husband. That is actually my
it's your cousin. It's your cousin.
That is actually my cousin from France who's staying
Bonjour.
Who's staying with us this week. Anyway, so what was I saying to you? I totally lost my train of thought. Anyway, the point is, this is hilarious. The point is that these people are very, very serious.
And they're in Donald Trump's ear.
Donald Trump's ear. And they're not going away, and they have a plan. And Donald Trump is not building a $230 million ballroom.
350.
350 ballroom now, to leave it to somebody else. And I don't know if people saw this today, he made a comment overnight while on his Asia trip about a third term. And what he said was that, yes, I wouldn't run as I'm very interested in running again. I wouldn't run as vice president to JD Vance and have him resign and become president because
he said it.
He said he's not going to do that because that's too cute. Okay, we all know he's a liar, so of course that's exactly what he's planning on doing. And also, P.S., he's not sure if he's going to do it, but if not, then the unbeatable ticket is Vance Rubio. They're both great, and if they team up together, nobody could beat them. The reality is that he is having these discussions. He's going to run, and he's going to win. And the reason he's going to win is because they are going to do everything they can to rig this election in the way that they claimed the Democrats did. So the whole thing about the election hoax that they keep talking about, the Democrats did it, is that they can
they're always telling on themselves.
They're always telling themselves.
Always projecting. And before, we have a few minutes at least left in on this topic, I just want to go through, because I pulled a bunch of stuff about Mike Davis. Now, again, this is the article back from this time last year. This is him just making threats. Quote, "So think long long and hard before you want to violate President Trump's constitutional rights or any other American's constitutional rights. He continued, it's not going to happen again. Davis has also done a lot of talking about wanting to put journalists in gulags. This article here is also from last year by Adam Wren in Politico. This was September 20th, 2024. Headline, Trump's chief legal defender vows a, quote, reign of terror. Or is it all an act?
Okay, can we just pause for a second here? This is what I
Yes.
hate about mainstream media. Get rid of everything after reign of terror. It is not an act.
Mhm.
Why are we constantly saying these people are trolling us? They are not trolling us.
No.
Okay, one. Two, the phrase reign of terror has a very, very, very specific history. It's actually, speaking of my French cousin, it is actually French. It refers to when, after the French Revolution, a bunch of radical Jacobins sent everybody to not to the gulag, to the guillotine.
Mm-hmm.
They literally sent everybody to the guillotine. That is what reign of terror means. It means death.
Yes.
Again, a very specific phrase that he used, right? He didn't say, oh, we're going to arrest people, we're going to imprison people. He actually used the word reign of terror.
Mm-hmm.
Look up France, 1793.
Yep.
If you looked at somebody the wrong way, they would denounce you and send you to the guillotine. It wasn't just the nobility by that point. It was everybody.
Right. And this is why these people are so, they got like a fetish for this kind of like period of history, and they love talking about it. But then, and like it says here in the second line here, Mike Davis could be Trump's attorney general. He's not. He didn't end up being. But he says he wants to put journalists in gulags and kids in cages. He also says he's trolling. The line isn't always clear. The trolling part of this is always how he gets out of it, right? And this is how then the mainstream media goes, oh, ha 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 ha, like these people are so funny. And I won't go through, maybe we can do a standalone on Mike Davis. I'd actually like to. But I want to get to this one part here where this woman, Caroline Wren, the GOP fundraiser, says if he isn't attorney general, he's going to play some sort of role. And I think that that's becoming increasingly obvious. And I also just want people just to give some background. He didn't just kind of fall out of the sky. It says in college at the University of Iowa in the late 90s, he found himself taken with House Speaker Newt Gingrich's talk of welfare reform. He bombarded Gingrich's office with letters and emails. Then a very new technology asking about internships. Gingrich's intern director eventually relented. Quote, I think just to shut me up, Davis said. He made his way to Washington for the first time in a crappy Dodge, driving straight from through the night from Iowa. It was, of course, it introduced him to the levers of power in a town where he would later work in them to great effect. Even in college, he was known for having a provocative nature. He'll say things just to get people agitated and see what kind of reaction he gets from people. Now, okay, he did that as a college student, but then much like a lot of these people, they see what they can get away with, right? And they keep saying the things. And the reason that they say them is because they're thinking them and they're feeling them. And like this guy is crazy. And here he is in a picture. He speaks, Chairman Chuck Grassley speaks with Davis during a Senate Judiciary Committee 2018. I mean, this guy is all up in it. He's all up in it with the Republican senators, with the Republican Party, with Republican leadership, and the levers of power. And I wanted to pull this too because it says in 6th grade, Davis's teachers in Des Moines, Iowa, bestowed on him the Alex P. Keaton Award. It was an honor they created specifically for him. I'm assuming this was in the 80s because he had such radically different views from his liberal parents. If you know the show Family Ties, that's Michael J. Fox's character. But like this guy, this has been his life. I mean, I think of him similarly to Stephen Miller in that way, is that he has kind of always been like this and has not been taken seriously enough. And now it's too late, in my opinion. It's too late. And now these people have the ear of the president, like you said, Julie. They have the ear of everyone who can make these things happen. And I don't know how we get out of this. I really don't.
Well, I don't either, but let's move on to our next segment because
Yeah.
we could talk about this. We will do, you know what, Michelle and I are going to do a standalone Daily Dispatch on all of this because this is something we need to know about.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, let's move. Well, as though we needed more evidence of why launching Mayday Media was such a good idea. Hold on to your seats. The Washington Post published an editorial on Sunday entitled, and I'm not joking, I'm saying this verbatim, in defense of the White House ballroom. They actually write, quote, preservationists express horror that Trump did not submit his plans to their scrutiny, but the truth is that this project would never have gotten done, certainly not during his term, if the president had gone through the traditional review process. The blueprints would have faced death by 1,000 paper cuts. I don't know what's wrong with that, but okay. The Post is, of course, owned by Jeff Bezos, who is contributing big bucks to that White House ballroom, so they failed to actually disclose that. Meanwhile, Status, which is a great online media newsletter by Oliver Darcy, formerly of CNN. Oliver is fantastic. If you can subscribe to Status, you should. He reported last night the following, that Mark Thompson, who heads CNN, he's the CNN chief, had a private meeting at the White House, quote, following which he urged the network to ease up on coverage of Trump's East Room demolition. And then they add that, quote, people close to the situation say that Thompson and WBD, which is Warner Brothers Discovery chief David Zaslav, believe it is very important for CNN to have a functional relationship with the White House. And of course, CNN anchor Jake Tapper, who recently conducted an interview with Trump via text message, has been lobbying for an interview with the president. God forbid we don't give Jake what he wants. Oh, and by the way, Time Magazine, which wrote a glowing cover story on Trump's Gaza ceasefire, of course not a ceasefire a few weeks ago, but included a photo that he hated, has now bent the knee even more, writing a glowing story about his foreign policy, quote-unquote, triumphs again, but with an airbrush photograph he's sure to love. You guys, this is the absolute death knell for corporate media. I just want to be very clear on that. It's over. It's over. And I will tell you why it's also over. The New York Post ran a story on Thursday where a senior Trump official said about the Warner Brothers Discovery, which owns CNN, which owns HBO, is trying to sell itself, right? The person who wants to buy it is David Zaslav, again, who already owns CBS, which means that he owns Paramount, which means that he owns CBS, he owns HBO. No, he doesn't own HBO. He owns Comedy Central. Now he wants to acquire CNN. He wants to acquire HBO. So, of course, there are different people who are interested in buying Warner Brothers Discovery, but this is what a senior Trump official told the New York Post on Thursday. Quote, the Warner board needs to think very seriously, not just on the price competition, but which player in the suitor pool has been successful getting a deal done. Translation, Donald Trump wants David Zaslav to acquire CNN. And this is the quote unquote free market party that is now telling you, don't just think about the price point. Don't just think about what makes sense for shareholders from a financial perspective. Think about what makes sense to Donald Trump. Think about what he wants. This is the end of legacy media. That sentence was the autopsy report. The autopsy report. And I actually wrote something on this. I'm going to drop it in the chat if anybody wants to read it, because I think it's important. But it's just, I don't know what to say other than legacy media is over, you guys. It's done.
Listen, when I saw the Washington Post article yesterday, I kind of couldn't believe it. I'm just going to throw this up here just so people see it. It wasn't just some random opinion writer that wrote this. It was the editorial board of the Washington Post. And it says Donald Trump versus the NIMBYs. Now, if you don't know what NIMBYs means, it's not in my backyard. Okay, people, meaning like, well, you know, the crusty people who don't want anything, get off my lawn. For them to call people who are calling for at the very least, just procedure to go through these things, or any sort of, you know, public disclosure, instead of just ripping down parts of the people's house, the White House. Apparently we're NIMBYs now, which is just like the biggest slap in our faces and gaslighting. And I wanted to, they talk about how, well, this is a test to, between the people who want to see new things and then the people who just want to live in the past. And, Trump's a builder and he's this, that. And it says here in the last part, the state dining room seats 140, talks about that this is going to be a 90,000 square foot addition that's going to accommodate 1,000 guests. And then it says this last line, the next Democratic president will be happy to have this. Let me tell you, and Julie and I have talked about this. I saw Eric Swalwell tweeted about this yesterday, said that it needs to be a campaign promise of anyone who is even thinking about running for president. This is assuming that our elections go forward, fairly or whatever else.
Big assumption.
Yeah, big assumption. That this needs to be a campaign promise that they will tear it down.
But I just pulled up the Washington Post right now. And I'm looking at their opinion section. And here's a sampling of what is now in the Washington Post, which was once a great newspaper that broke Watergate and never bent the knee to power and did its job without fear or favor. Here's just a sample. Some guy named Matthew Lynn. I have no idea who he is. He's an op-ed writer for the Washington Post. New York voters can learn from leftist London's sad decline. Let me just say that London has had a sad decline, but it's not about their mayor. It's about the fact that Brexit took the life out of London, and that's what all of these MAGA people agitated for. Another one, China's trade bullying can't stand up to United Front. Okay? Another one. So, of course, China's trade bullying, it's not like Trump has imposed sanctions that have absolutely decimated any kind of farming here in the United States and other places. And then, my favorite, by Megan McArdle, toxic femininity and the rise of cancel culture.
Jesus Christ.
That's what you're now getting from the Washington Post. You're about to get this from CNN. If they're doing this before they're acquired by Paramount, Skydance, if they're doing this before they're acquired.
Yeah, it's like a little audition. They're just saying, ooh, look at this.
Fake Tapper needs an interview with Trump. Well, he had one over text, which I'm positive.
Right. These people are so deeply unserious. And again, like going forward in this article, like the fact that they're, again, calling people NIMBYs who didn't want this to happen and have compared us to people who get in the way of high-speed rail projects in California. Like that's the kind of, and I'm like, not the same. Just again, the level of gaslighting that is happening from people. And then again, oh, well, Dwight D. Eisenhower did the memorial near the National Air and Space Museum, and then goes on. The memorial wasn't open until late 2020. By contrast, Eisenhower planned and executed D-Day in about 6 months. What does that have to do with anything?
You guys,
it's crazy.
The level of gaslighting.
And this is the people on the editorial board, just so people know, like this is the list of people right here. If you want, I don't know what you want to say to them, go find them on Twitter or whatever, but like this is them. This is them. And it's just Jeff Bezos is among the donors who are making this happen. This is a big grift. This is a huge, huge grift for him to launder money through this ballroom and into his pocket.
Yeah.
And just so people know too, this is the Time magazine situation. Remember we made fun of him. It was it last week, 2 weeks ago with his gross neck. He complained about it and Time made a new magazine cover. That's it on the right.
Which is, I don't know if that's real. Is that AI? Is it airbrush? Look at his humongous hands that are not really huge.
Oh my God, I know. Well, and then I saw this. Hold on. I think I put a thing. Yes. According to a report by the Daily Beast, Washington, D.C. based photographer Stephen Voss's new photo of Trump drew inspiration from Arnold Newman's 1963 photograph of German industrialist and convicted Nazi war criminal Alfred Krupp, which was published by Newsweek, though Time vehemently denies this. The digital outlet also reported that Voss liking comments on Instagram where followers asked about the connection, though he has since seemingly removed his likes.
Yeah.
So
there you go. It's yeah. I mean, turn it off. I know it sounds self-serving for us because we're launching this independent network.
Yeah, but like we're just one of so many because we're all seeing this. And just really quick before we move on, I had breakfast yesterday with my friend who's a reporter at NBC News. And she was part of this kind of restructuring of all the DEI, sectors of NBC. And luckily she's going to be able to stay at the company, but she's like, what's happening is crazy. And it's very, very obvious what is happening. And it's a very scary time to be somebody like my friend who wants to continue doing the work, and feels like, we don't know what's around the corner. So anyways, with that said, I guess happy Monday.
Happy Monday, everybody.
So it looks like the tide is starting to turn. Latinos who were instrumental in helping to deliver the White House to Donald Trump last year are souring on the president. Big time. It's about time. An October survey by the Associated Press, NORC Center for Public Affairs Research, found that 25% of Hispanic adults now hold a somewhat or very favorable view of Trump, down from 44% in a poll conducted shortly before he began his second term on January 20th of this year. Meanwhile, the share of Hispanic adults who say the country is headed in the wrong direction has risen from 63% in March to 73%. Even Republican Latinos are getting frustrated. According to this same poll, 66% of Hispanic Republicans said that they have a very or somewhat favorable view of Donald Trump, a 17-point drop from September 2024. Overall, 73% of Hispanic adults disapproved of the way Trump was handling his job as president, up from 53% in March. So what does this mean for the 2025 elections that are just happening in a week or two, and for the midterms, assuming that they actually happen without any funny business?
Well, look, I think Latinos were taken for granted by Democrats for a very long time,
and seen as some sort of monolith.
Seen as some sort of monolith. Yeah. If you talk to somebody who's Cuban, they might not even consider themselves Latino. They don't associate themselves with people from Guatemala or
Mexico. I mean, like, it's just
Puerto Rico. And the truth of the matter is, it is as offensive to refer to Latinos as a monolith as it would be ridiculous to say, well, Michelle's family comes from, Ireland, and my family comes from Russia, and therefore we're on the European continent together, and we have something in common. We don't.
Yeah, right.
We don't. Other than Latinos come from countries where they speak Spanish. That's about it, right?
Yeah, it's literally just a language.
So I would say this, and I think also Democrats, and I saw this happen, and I winced at it. You would have Democrats and states, like the governor of New Jersey, I remember, was going to Latinos before his reelection and saying, oh, well, I gave free in-state tuition to undocumented migrants, or I gave, I allowed them to have driver's licenses. And these Latinos who've been here for generations were looking at him saying, what the hell does it have to do with me?
Right.
And why are you conflating me with those people? My family came in here legally. I heard that in group after focus group after focus group. What Latinos, if you can use them as a monolith, care about, and I hate even saying this because they are not a monolith, is that they are small business owners, very, very, very much in every focus group I've ever witnessed with Latinos, which has been a lot. They're very much like, what have you done for me lately? Like, lower my taxes, make it easier for me to start a small business. Let me support that small business. Like, they're very, very pragmatic. And I can see why Trump appealed to that, right? Because he wasn't talking about, he wasn't conflating them with people that they also disdain, who came here in their mind, not through the front door the way they did, even though a lot of their family probably didn't back in the day, much like most people of this country didn't come here through the front door. They hopped up a ship and got to Ellis Island and, talked their way into the country. But the reality is that he has not addressed inflation. He has not made it easier for people to start a small business. In fact, small businesses are dying because of tariffs. He has made it almost impossible to plan for the future in any kind of stable way financially. And, I think Latinos now are probably more homeless than they are running back to Democrats. But if Democrats don't wake up and start speaking to them, not condescendingly, but giving specific proactive solutions to what they're going to do. And it has to be proactive. And it can't just be like, we're not Donald Trump, which is the problem with this party. Like, one day we won't have Trump to kick around anymore. We're not going to get them back. They're going to just stay home. And they are the fastest growing demographic in this country. So, my friends in the Democratic Party, wake the F up.
Yeah.
You got to talk to them like you want them to be part of the community, and not just that they have to hate Trump and that's why they have to come vote for Democrats. It's not going to work. It is not going to work. So I'm glad that we talked about this, because it just underscores the opportunity that's there for the Democratic Party. I don't think it's doing this in any way, shape, or form. I mean, I don't know why Hakeem Jeffries and Chuck Schumer are not holding daily press conferences talking about the fact that the Republicans are making it impossible for small businesses to thrive, rather than impossible for people to afford to live in this country. And that includes, of course, healthcare costs, but it also includes a lot of other things. They're not doing it.
I do have a clip here of Jeffries talking. I believe, I don't know if this is Friday. I think it was maybe Friday or yesterday. I grabbed from that clip chat that we're on. And he talks about inflation a little bit. I'm just going to play this.
Today's inflation numbers of 3% year over year confirm what hardworking American taxpayers already know: that Donald Trump and Republican policies are making life too expensive in the United States of America. Donald Trump and Republicans promise that costs will go down on day one, but costs haven't gone down in the United States of America. Costs are going up. Inflation is up, the highest number since January of this year. Housing costs are too high. Grocery costs are too high. Electricity bills are through the roof. And now, because of the Republican refusal to extend the Affordable Care Act tax credits, tens of millions of Americans are receiving notices right now that their health care premiums are about to skyrocket.
And then, and this is Besant on TV over the weekend too.
Let me ask you about something here back at home. Inflation. We learned this week that inflation in September ticked back up to 3%. That's the highest level since January. I want you to take a listen to something that President-elect Trump told me back in December. Take a look.
I started using the word, the groceries, when you buy apples, when you buy bacon, when you buy eggs.
This is your thing, Julie.
Triple the price over a short period of time. And I won an election based on that. We're going to bring those prices way down.
Mr. Secretary, coffee prices are up 19% from a year ago. Beef is up almost 15%, and bacon up almost 6%, just to name a few. So when are all grocery prices going to come down, as President Trump promised?
Well, Kristen, it's unfortunate. As much as I like you, you like to cherry pick. So, when we came in, it was eggflation, eggflation, eggflation. Egg prices are down, gasoline prices are down. Overall, the inflation since President Trump has come in, has come down. We inherited this terrible affordability crisis from the Biden administration.
I can't even anymore. But it's you get the point here. It's prices are up. They said they were going to fix them. They're not up, or they're not down, rather. They're up, and they're continuing to tell us right to our faces that none of it's true.
Let me just say this. A couple of things. One is Hakeem Jeffries, good job. But what you do, Hakeem Jeffries, Mr. Leader, is talk about proactively what you're going to do. Not just that Trump sucks, but finish the thought. And Democrats are going to help you address your cost of living by doing A, B, or C. You have to do that. It cannot just be Trump. As to Scott Besant, every week I actually track every single week what these prices are. So since Trump mentioned apples, bacon, and eggs, I will give him some credit. Apples are down. They're the last check, this is all per the federal government, this past week, there were $1.75 for Honeycrisp per pound, down from $1.83 this time last year. So they're down by 7 cents. I mean, whatever it is, right?
Yeah.
5 cents. Bacon in September of 2025 was about $7.03 per slice per pound. In December, when Biden left, it was $6.09. So it is up since Biden left and equal to what it was this time last year. Just to be clear, bacon is up since Biden left office. Eggs, large grade A per dozen, were $3.49 in September of this past year. They were down from $4.15 in December when Biden left, and down from $3.82 this time last year. So they are down by about 35 cents since this last year. So they are down, right? Eggs are down, bacon is up, apples are slightly down. This is not what we're looking for here. Okay. Who's going to bring those prices way down? They are not way down.
No. And it's also apple season. Like apples are plentiful. You know what I mean? It's like there's a bigger supply, but
so, I just want to be clear here that he is also importing beef from Argentina, you guys. We have an entire ranching industry here. Cowboys are called cowboys for a reason. They wrangle cows to slaughter them.
Right.
He doesn't care. He doesn't care. He's importing them from his friends in Argentina, who he's already given $40 billion to as a bailout.
And Argentina being another thing that the breaking news overnight that we can maybe do a dispatch about today, or we can talk about it tomorrow, is, Milei's, midterm election or whatever, that his bigger hold on their Congress there. I mean, this is all like our bailout basically just bought the election in Argentina overnight. I mean, the fact that this is happening and people can't afford to feed their families in the United States.
And he's electing a dictator in Argentina. Yeah. And actually, you know what, Michelle, our next segment touches on that. So why don't we just move on and talk about affordability here, because it's really painful.
Yep.
Talked about this in the A block a little, but I want to focus on this a little bit more because our friends and our neighbors are actually suffering. I don't know, Michelle, if you saw that video of those lines.
I did.
In Ireland, where federal workers have been lining up because they've not been paid by the federal government since the shutdown. These are federal workers. These people went to work for the government because they assumed that they would have paychecks, and it's steady. Well, it gets worse. Funding for the nation's largest food assistance program, which we talked about before, which is SNAP, will disappear in just a little over a week. On Friday, the Trump administration announced that it would not tap into contingency funds to keep payments flowing to states. That is a level of cruelty that can just not be described. That means 42 million Americans who rely on SNAP will literally be forced to starve if they can't find a food bank to feed them. And now you have some states like Virginia, Republican Governor Glenn Youngkin, of course, MAGA guy,
Trumpkin,
is now panicking. He's declaring states of emergency. Gavin Newsom over in California plans to call up the National Guard to support food banks. And then my favorite, lawmakers in Louisiana, which is, of course, the home state of Speaker Mike Johnson, who's on week 5 of vacation and not calling the House back because, God forbid, he has to swear in a congresswoman who will sign a petition to release the Epstein files. Louisiana is expected to approve using temporary reserve funds to cover missing SNAP payments. And I just want to be clear, 18% of Louisiana's population relies on SNAP, the second highest in the nation after New Mexico. But even as Trump refuses to extend SNAP benefits, he's, of course, building that $350 million ballroom to entertain his rich friends. Have you ever seen anything like this since Marie Antoinette told people to eat cake?
I mean, first of all, Trump's anonymous friend, who's not so anonymous anymore, Mellon, right, is his last name, is the one who's apparently donating anonymously $130 million to feed, was it federal workers or military? Troops. Right. First of all, that doesn't even scratch the surface of how much that costs to feed people, or pay people. So let's just get that right out of the way. The other part of this is just there's an aspect of this that, again, the mainstream media is not talking about. People are not talking about this. This is by design. They want to starve people. They want people to die. Now, they can't say that out loud. I mean, I guess they could and no one would do anything, but this is all part of the design to make us sick, poor, suffering, and dead. That is the end goal here. They want people to die. They hate poor people. They hate brown people. They hate women. They hate women, certainly, who work. And immigrants who, by the way, work. Most immigrants work and pay taxes into our system and get nothing back.
Yep.
So this lie that, we're giving health care to immigrants and we're giving this to SNAP. No, we're not. No, we're not. It's not a thing. But it doesn't matter. And as the shutdown continues to go on and on and on, people are, continuing to suffer. The healthcare costs are skyrocketing. And the average American family is going to spend $5,000 more in costs per year now because of these tariffs. All of this is man-made. None of this is a reaction to a global pandemic or a global recession or anything like this. This is all because Donald Trump came into office and took a wrecking ball, literally and figuratively, to the entire country. And meanwhile, Republicans are going on TV blaming Democrats for all of this that they do while they hold power in all three branches of government. Here is Andy Biggs on TV talking about Democrats and
crazy right-wing MAGA congressman.
Crazy person.
I don't think you should be negotiating with these people because they're political terrorists, just like they are domestic terrorists. And so what they've done is they've said, we don't care about the American people.
F you. And then in contrast, I want to show Andy Biggs, crazy MAGA, cuckoo man. Dave McCormick, who is a senator from Pennsylvania, said something similar, which I will play now on CNN.
Business guy, you have to work with people. Why not work with Democrats right now? Listen to what their concerns are. Try to cut a deal, reopen the government.
Well, the main reason is you can't negotiate with a terrorist. So what's happening right now is that the Democrats are trying to ask for something extremely unreasonable. We can have any discussion. The president said this. The majority leader Thune said this. You can have any negotiation discussion you want about extending health care benefits, but you can't start with you're going to shut down the government to get them.
And so this guy is considered a moderate.
Wait a second. He thinks it's unreasonable to provide subsidies so people can afford health care. Right? You take that bullshit, Senator, to Philadelphia and to Pittsburgh, and I want to see that in Bucks County, and I want to see that in Northampton County, and I want to see that in Lehigh County, Senator. You say that, not to some guy at CNN sitting in the rotunda of the Capitol, which is where that interview took place. You take that on the road to the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. I would dearly love to have him say that, and I hope whoever runs against him plays that clip over and over and over again. Democrats were terrorists. They took the government hostage because they asked for something unreasonable. What was that something unreasonable, Senator? Extending healthcare benefits.
Yes.
Subsidies so that people can afford to stay on their healthcare plans. Right now, we're about to cut off food assistance and healthcare. So
people are about to lose everything.
You are going to starve to death. And when you show up at the doctor, because you're going to get sick, you won't be able to pay for it and you will go bankrupt and you will die. I mean, these people are consigning Americans to death. That is not hyperbole. I'm not prone to hyperbole.
No, and they went on and on about death panels, right? During the ACA, right? Oh, death panels. And these are the death panels. Like, give me a break. Dave McCormick is a business guy. He's a bajillionaire. He has no idea. He cannot relate to the average American. Not in any way, shape, or form.
Ran a massive hedge fund in Connecticut. His wife was the number 2 or 3 at Goldman Sachs. These people have not been around real Americans ever.
And this is the thing. It's just like, I don't know how bad apparently people need to be dying in the streets. And even then, I don't know if people can look up from their phones long enough to look around and see people suffering. And I will say this is the last thing about all of this. It should not be up to the rest of us in an individual capacity to be feeding our fellow Americans. This should be baked in to our society and how we help each other, and keeping the government shut down is exacerbating this problem. And there's a couple things here. So number one, I think people need to be prepared. And no, I don't think people are saying this, and I don't think it's hyperbole, that they're never going to open the government. They could stay closed for a long time, for very, very long time. I mean, I've been saying privately, I don't know that they're ever going to reopen it.
So he could rule by executive order. You guys, he doesn't want Congress there.
Correct.
He doesn't want them voting to authorize the Epstein files.
No.
He doesn't want them to even have, like, the problem for him is he doesn't even want them to have attention. Because that takes attention away from him.
Correct.
Congress is shut down. He will rule like a king.
Mm-hmm.
Because the legislative branch will be gone. They have decided that they are not going to work.
Yep.
And the executive branch, which is vested entirely in him, will continue to function like a monarchy. He's got the court rubber stamping everything he wants anyway.
Yep, exactly. And quite frankly, also, if you are a member of a megachurch or a huge religious institution, and your organization is not reaching out to your community to be feeding people during this time that we're about to enter, you need to be paying taxes. These religious institutions need to be paying taxes, major taxes, if they're not going to walk the walk and talk of everything that they preach. And again, this is the fact. Looking around, this has taken 9 months, Julie. I mean, it's taken 9 months for us to get here. It's no time at all. And for anybody also who's saying, "Oh, well, it's only another 3 years,"
nope.
You're in for a rude awakening.
He's not leaving, guys. He is not leaving.
It's just really great Monday. Julie.
Let's talk about something good. Let's go to the next segment and talk about it.
Yes.
So, you guys, for those of you who join us on Saturday mornings for Coffee and Conversation, we decided we're going to bring a little coffee and conversation every day to the show at the very end and just talk about stuff that, life and stuff, not necessarily politics all the time. If you have questions that you want us to address, comments, segments, anything, just put it in the chat, email it over to us, and we will talk about it too. So you guys can be part of the discussion. Michelle, here's what I did this weekend. It was a really crazy weekend. As I said, I have my cousin in from France who is the best, and I love him, and I'm so happy he's here. He's here with his girlfriend and his girlfriend's dad and his girlfriend's sister. So I have, and so what we did yesterday, we actually went to Giants Stadium. My husband and my son ran the Giants Foundation 5K, which ends up on the field, the Giants Stadium at the end zone. So you kind of run through Giants Stadium. So if you're a Giants fan, like my husband or my son, that was really, really cool. And then on the way back, we drove through the George Washington Bridge, and we saw a bunch of military vehicles headed for New York City. I don't know what happened to them. I don't know if this is the National Guard being sent into New York in advance of the election. I do know that early voting started in New York on Saturday, so it's not a coincidence.
Yeah.
And I don't really know where those troops were headed, but they certainly were crossing state lines.
Right, crossing state lines, which is
yeah. So that was kind of an insane thing. And then we went for a beautiful walk in Central Park, which Michelle and I are going to do the show. We're going to go show you New York. And so part of that was me. I didn't record it, but walking through Central Park past Bethesda Fountain. We walked from the side to the east up to Guggenheim and then walked back. And it was a beautiful day, a little cold, but it was.
Yeah, but it's like the best. It's the best time.
Yeah.
And I have to say, the conversation we had today on the show and every day, it's so heavy. Like everything is so heavy. It bums me out. I know I don't just speak for myself. I think I speak for everybody trying to take this stuff on and stay informed while also trying to stay sane. And it's really, really, really difficult. But I will say that walking through Central Park, which I also did this weekend, a little bit, our friends' kids were running. It's like the week. So next weekend is the New York City Marathon. So there's like a kids version of it this weekend, and like they do like an 1/8 of a mile or something like that. And so her kids, who are like I think 7 and almost 3, were running it in their little age group. It was very cute. So we did that, and then went out to a diner and had breakfast yesterday. And it was just like, I'm like, it's nice to be outside. It's nice to breathe in the air. And if you know New York or this part of the country, we're hitting peak foliage right now. Like next week, the next week and a half will be peak foliage in New York City. And it's just honestly the most beautiful time. And it's not too cold yet. It's just nice. It's pleasant to be outside, be around people. And all the canvassers are out. I don't know if you saw that. I was walking up through the farmer's market on the weekend, which is on like Columbus, between where Shake Shack is. It's like 70.
Yeah. It's right by the museum.
You know what I'm talking about? Right by the museum. We were walking through there and got accosted by a lot of Cuomo people, a lot of Zoran people. And my husband was like trolling all of them, going, "I'm voting for Curtis Sliwa."
Oh my God. He's not voting for Curtis Sliwa.
Like all the looks on their faces were like, what?
He is not. Although Andrew Cuomo did say that if Zoran Mamdani becomes mayor, he's moving to Florida. And I was like, don't threaten me with a good time.
I know. I'm like, go. The women of New York, thank you. But it's like, and again, like we talked about, I'm not going to get into it, but I'm not thrilled with my choices. I'm just not. But I will say the biggest yikes, like an actual yikes, came out of my mouth when somebody was like, vote for Cuomo. He's the most experienced. And I turned around. I was like, yikes. This is so embarrassing for you. Like, why are you out here? But at the same time, like, I hate to say this. He's not going to win. Like, Cuomo's not going to win. I'd be very shocked if he does. But a lot of conversations that I've had with a lot of people, I've been very surprised over the last 2 weeks. How many people are voting for Andrew Cuomo?
Yep.
We would be shocked because people are afraid to talk about it. And I'm not saying it's good or bad. Please, I hate Andrew Cuomo. The man is a piece of shit. But I've been surprised. I've been very surprised.
I think if you look at early voting, it's shattered all records. I think Mamdani is bringing out people who've never done it before.
100%.
It's going to be great. I mean, if you look at
for a mayoral election, like no, like it's usually
like if you look at Brooklyn, especially, which of course is base because it's all, well, I shouldn't say all of Brooklyn, but you have, I think the Orthodox are voting for Cuomo, but you do have, and maybe African Americans are also, I don't know what they're doing actually. I think,
that constituency like overwhelmingly voted for Cuomo during the primary.
Yeah, but I think Brownstone, Brooklyn, and all of these people who live in Park Slope are all voting for Williamsburg, are all voting for Mamdani.
Yeah, it's a very interesting.
Yeah, who've never really, I mean, I don't know if you saw, he had a rally yesterday.
I heard AOC had it was in Flushing, right?
Flushing. It was the same stage where the Beatles played back in the day. He sold it out like crazy. It was like a Beatles concert. And I think a lot of the usual cast of characters will vote for Cuomo, but I think Mamdani is bringing out people that are insanely
very, very, very energized, energized. And I think that also, I mean, not on his best day, I don't think Andrew Cuomo could make up for that. You know what I mean? I think that there's just like a ceiling for people who are going to support him. A lot of them coming from the business community, Jewish community. Like most of the people that I've talked to who are all voting for Cuomo are like over the age of 40, part of like corporate, culture kind of stuff. But it's been a lot. So
listen, agree or disagree with Zoran Mamdani, study his tactics because that's the kind of stuff.
He's very good.
Very proactive. He's talking about stuff that he's going to do. P.S. He's not going to be able to do any of it, but he is talking about stuff that he's going to do, as opposed to beating up on Trump all the time, which is what our leaders in Washington do, right? Give people a reason to vote for you, not just against the other guy.
Yep. And he's very quick on his feet. And I'll just say this, it's like the city bikes, just so I don't know if you don't ride city bike. I can't reach the pedals, so I don't ride city bike, but my husband does back and forth to work every day through the park. And they lowered the speed limit of the bikes, the electric bikes or whatever, from like 18 to 15 or something like that. And like everyone's like up in arms about it. And my husband's like, I have to huff and puff and it's terrible. And so there was a whole article in the New York Times about this. And apparently there's like a little paragraph about somebody saw Zohran Mamdani getting his city bike out of the thing. And somebody yelled at him, communist, you're a communist. And he turned around, he said, it's pronounced cyclist, and got on his bike and rode away. And I was like, that's funny.
He's good.
He's very good. He's very quick. So,
all right, you guys, it is so good to have so many of you join us today. Thank you. We are going to probably do a daily dispatch if we have time today about some of the stuff we talked about, because it bears having a longer conversation. In the meantime, we will see all of you.
Yes.
And maybe my cousin Jonathan, if he wants to come.
It's like having a very busy morning.
Tomorrow at 8 a.m. Eastern.
Yeah.
5 a.m. Pacific, which is very early. So if you cannot join us live, you can always watch us on YouTube at the Mayday Network.
And I promise to have more coffee, so I'm not low energy, Jeb, tomorrow, because I'm feeling like this morning.
So as Michelle always says, like and subscribe, everybody.
Yes, please. It helps us immensely. And everyone, we'll see you very soon.
All right. Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.